This video is going to cover parallel lines and transversals and the unique relationships that are formed between the angles when a parallel line is cut by a transversal. Let's go ahead and start labeling what you'll normally see on a problem when you have parallel lines and a transversal. First of all, you'll normally have the parallel lines named. So our parallel lines are called M and N. And you can see that this is a parallel line, a set of parallel lines because of this arrow symbol. Sometimes there will be more than one set of parallel lines, and on the other set there might be 2 arrows or 3 arrows. But the number of arrows that it has, like here it has 2, and this other line has 2, that's how you determine what 2 lines go together and are parallel. It's another indication. This piece is called the transversal, and let's just call it T. So this would be something you would normally see. You'd be given an angle, maybe you'd be given angle 6, and then asked to find the other angles in this problem. All right, supplementary angles. Those are 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees. For example, let's say that you had a 50-degree angle and a 130-degree angle. These 2 angles are supplementary because they add up to 180 degrees. You might also be given a picture where you are told that one of the angles is, let's say, 40 degrees. And then you're asked to figure out the remaining angle if these 2 angles are supplementary angles. Since you know that supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, you would be able to figure out that the remaining value is 140. A straight angle contains 180 degrees. If you go the opposite way, 180 and 180, we get 360, which is the degree measure of a circle. And then we have complementary angles, which add up to 90 degrees. So here's a 45-degree angle, a 45-degree angle. Those are complementary angles. And you could have the same thing happen where you're told this is a set of complementary angles, and maybe you're given this measures 30 degrees. What is the other angle? And since they're complementary, you know that has to be 60 degrees. We're going to focus on supplementary angles. And these are the other angles that we're going to be looking at today, and we'll look at each one of these individually. First, we're going to apply supplementary angles, that idea, to the parallel lines in a transversal. For example, let's say that this is 105 degrees. And this is not to scale, so that doesn't really look like 105 degrees, but just go with it. So knowing that a straight angle, this whole thing, is equal to 180 degrees, we can figure out that angle 1 is 75 degrees. We can take this idea further and we can figure out that angle 2 and angle 3 also make up 180 degrees because it's another straight angle. So this must be 75 degrees. And angle 3 and angle 4 also make 180 degrees. They are supplementary angles. So this must be 105 degrees. So 3 and 4 are supplementary, 1 and 4 are supplementary, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, etc., etc. So those are supplementary angles. Now, what we just looked at should help us to understand vertical angles and how we know that vertical angles are congruent. So we said that angle 2 was 105 degrees, and we said that because of supplementary angles that we know that this is 75 degrees. We also know that this was 75, and this angle right here was 105. But what you'll notice is that the angles opposite each other are congruent. These are called vertical angles. A way to remember this is that we form a V. V for vertical angles. Over here, another V, vertical angles. So these are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So this is true in any case. So if you just have a random drawing like this without any parallel lines, and you just look at this angle and this angle, these are vertical lines. So this angle, let's say angle A, is going to be congruent to angle B. In addition, this angle and this angle are congruent because, once again, they are vertical angles. Let's talk about corresponding angles. So if you look at the top, you can compare this to the bottom, and what you should see is that since these two lines, let's call them M and N, are parallel, and you have this transversal T cutting through it, you're going to form the same angles. For example, we're going to call this the top right angle, and the corresponding top right angle is angle 6. And they're going to form the same angle because these two lines, these two parallel lines, have the same slope. This transversal has the same slope. So the transversal that has the same slope is meeting a line here and a line down here that are parallel. So you're going to form that same angle. So the top right, both top rights are going to be the same angle measure. Let's go ahead and put an angle measure in here. So let's just say that this is 40 degrees. We're going to also say that this is 40 degrees then because these are corresponding. So angle 1 and angle 6 are 40 degrees. From here, let's say that we also know that this is 40 degrees because of vertical angles. So vertical angles are congruent. 1 and 3 are 40 degrees. Well, this is, let's call this bottom left. And it goes with, angle 3 goes with angle 8. So that's also going to be 40 degrees. From here, because of supplementary angles, we know that angle 2 is 140 degrees. And let's use our information about corresponding angles to determine that angle 5 is also 140 degrees. We're going to call this top left, and I just abbreviate it TL. And then we know that this angle is also 140 degrees because these two are supplementary. So we know that angle 7 is also 140 degrees because angle 4 and angle 7 are both bottom right. So you want to find the angles that are in the same position in the two little squares or rectangles that I drew. So those are what you call corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. Let's talk about exterior angles and interior angles. Interior angles are the angles on the inside. So that would be 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is considered inside of the parallel lines. Just like the interior of your house is the inside, the interior angles are the inside of the parallel lines. The exterior of your house is on the outside, just like angle 1, 2, 7, and 8 are on the exterior of the parallel lines. So this section is considered exterior, exterior. And now let's look at alternate interior angles. So this is a little bit more specific. So here's the inside, the interior. And when we say alternate interior, we are saying that the angles on the opposite side of the transversal. So here's the transversal. They're on the opposite side of the transversal. They're on the interior. They're on the inside. Those are called alternate interior angles. Alternate. They alternate. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 6 and angle 3 are congruent. So let's once again put in some number values to make this make more sense. Let's say that this is 100 degrees. That would make this 80 degrees. And then over here, angle 3 would be 80 degrees, and angle 4 would be 100 degrees using vertical angles and supplementary angles. Then from here, you already learned that corresponding angles are congruent. So we could say that angle 1 and angle 6 are both 80 degrees. And again, using corresponding angles, you can say that angle 2 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. And you'll see now that alternate interior angles are congruent. Again, 3 and 6, alternate interior angles are congruent. Now we're going to take a look at alternate exterior angles. It's a similar concept. On the outside, angle 2 and angle 7 are congruent. And once again, notice it's important that you know that they are on opposite sides of this transversal. So 2 is on the left side of the transversal, 7 is on the right side of the transversal. Those are alternate exterior angles. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 8. Those are alternate exterior angles. Now we're going to talk about consecutive interior and exterior angles. And let's put in numbers one more time because I think it'll be helpful. We'll say that this angle measure is 70 degrees. And let's say that angle 2 then is 110 to make up our 180. So angle 4 is 110 degrees. Angle 3 is 70 degrees. And then let's use corresponding angles. So 4 is bottom right. 7 is bottom right. So 7 is also 110 degrees. The easy way to do it is just say, look at this pattern. 110, 70, 110, 70. And then below 70, 110, just copy it. It'll be the same in the top square as the bottom square. It'll be the same thing. And now let's talk about consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles add up to 180 degrees. So both sides, you can look at either side, 3 and 5 add up to 180, and 4 and 6 add up to 180. The same thing is true when you look on the exterior. So I'm going to put a star by this one and a star by this one, and they add up to 180 degrees. And then angle 2 and angle 8 also add up to 180 degrees. So consecutive interior angles, their sum is 180. Consecutive exterior angles, they also add up to 180 degrees. If you want to think about the reasoning, you could say, let me erase some of this. Oh, the eraser's not working. Well, I won't erase that. Instead, let's just think about it. So, if we know that angle 5 and angle 4 are congruent, technically, instead of angle 4, I could write here that this is angle 5. So let's say I wrote that this is angle 5. So then you can clearly see that angle 3 and angle 5 make a straight line or a straight angle. And so 3 and 5 are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. So it's just another way to think about that. We're going to carry out one example. And we already looked at this with 70 degrees, so I'm going to change this since we already used that. Let's use angle 1 is instead 45 degrees. So go ahead and write 45 degrees. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the rest, and I'd like you to fill in the rest on your own, so you might want to pause the video. And let's see if you can fill in all of the rest of the angles from this one angle measure. So if that's 45 degrees, what I'm going to do is use the reasoning supplementary angles. This is going to be 45 I didn't mean to say that, 135, 135 degrees. Now I'm going to use the reasoning of corresponding angles. So angle 2 and angle 5 are both 135. Alternate interior angles say that angle 4 and angle 5 are congruent. Vertical angles would tell us that angle 3 is 45 degrees. Once again, corresponding angles would tell us that the angle measured for angle 7 is 135 degrees because angle 4 and angle 7 are both bottom right. We can say that angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior and are congruent, so this is equal to 45. And then let's use alternate interior again, and angle 6 is also 45. We'll do some more examples in the next video.